As we touched on earlier, Trump says he'll impose 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum today. Joining us now to discuss is the Executive Vice President of the National Taxpayers Union, Brandon Arnold. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us. Are we likely to see the price of steel and aluminum rise significantly after these tariffs? And if so, which products or services further down the supply chain will likely become more expensive?
Yeah, absolutely. Prices will go up. Prices went up when George W. Bush implemented steel tariffs back in 2002. Steel and aluminum prices went up in 2018 when Trump imposed tariffs and Biden later extended. And once again, these big tariffs, 25% on both steel and aluminum, will increase the cost of consumer goods. They're going to raise costs for manufacturers who are making automobiles. They're going to raise costs for canneries, so things like soda, beer. Those will go up in price. And then the other thing that I think is really, really problematic is home construction. So much of home construction costs are materials, depends on aluminum, steel. These metals are critical for building homes, for building offices, factories, and so forth. So construction costs could go up, and that is going to hit consumers right in the wallets.
Brandon, Trump says one reason for these tariffs is national security. He's saying in case of war, we need strong domestic producers. Are these tariffs alone enough to achieve that?
No, I don't think that national security argument really holds water. I think we have ample steel and aluminum production in this country. I don't think tariffs should be used except in the most extremes of circumstances, and that does not apply in this particular case here. There's just no national security justification. I think this is Trump trying to, first of all, perhaps gain leverage over the EU, China, other trading partners. And second, I think he also has a mindset that we want to bring more industry back to United States soil. My opinion is this is not the right approach for doing so. I think better tax, better regulatory policies, lower energy costs, all of those things do a much, much better job of bringing jobs and industry back to American soil than the punitive nature of tariffs do.
And to your point about bringing jobs back to American soil, expanding steel and aluminum production can be expensive, of course. Is the infrastructure in place for us to do that right away, or will additional time and investment be needed?
Well, you'll need additional time and investment. The problem, of course, is when you raise these costs, it's not just the steel and aluminum industries that are affected. You know, when Trump imposed tariffs in 2018, we created some more capacity. We brought additional workforce into the equation. 1,000 people or so were hired by steel plants, but we lost 75,000 jobs in the industries that rely on steel and aluminum as inputs to make other stuff. So you have to look at the totality of the situation. It's not just about increasing capacity for steel and aluminum. You have to look at the totality of our economy. What are the broader effects? And in some ways, you're actually hurting the economy in a much larger sense than what you're doing to help the steel and aluminum industry itself.
Now, I know that all kinds of businesses, including the country of Japan, are looking to make significant investments in the U.S. Will businesses feel confident, though, making that investment in the steel industry? Because in 4 years, there could be a whole new administration which could potentially lift tariffs again.
Yeah, that's the real problem. Businesses like certainty. If they're going to invest billions of dollars in a country, build new plants, build new infrastructure, and so forth, they want to know that the rules of the road are going to be consistent. And that's why I think Donald Trump's approach here is a little bit concerning because, for instance, back in 2020, when he was president, we had the USMCA, the trade deal between the United States, Mexico, and Canada. A lot of businesses made investments with the expectation that that was going to be locked into place for many, many years to come. And then for one of his first actions to threaten massive tariffs against Canada and Mexico, really threw things into flux there. So I think there is a lot of concern within this administration about how much consistency we're going to have in policy. And then, as you suggest, the next president, we don't know who that'll be, could swing things in a completely different direction. We need to have a little bit more certainty in our trade, our tax, and our regulatory policies if we want to encourage more investment.
And just staying with these tariffs, of course, you know, it's not just steel and aluminum. Trump has suggested putting a whole raft of tariffs potentially on all of America's trading partners. If that happens, what do you think the medium to long-term impacts of that could be on American consumers?
Well, I think prices will go up, which is concerning because Americans elected. The number one reason Americans elected Donald Trump was because of frustration with high prices under the Biden administration. So he really needs to focus on lowering prices. If we have these massive tariffs, across the board tariffs, as he's contemplating, prices will absolutely go up. And there's going to be a lot of voter concern about that. So you have political effects. For instance, he's going to lose some political capital. His ability to get legislation through Congress enacted into law is going to take a hit. And then you look in the geopolitical world, his relationships are already strained with Canada and Mexico. That could soon be the case with the EU, with Japan, Australia, these important actors that we need to put pressure on rogue countries like China, which is cheated at trade, and North Korea, which is a national security threat. We lose the ability to work with these partners in a multilateral fashion to put pressure on bad actors. So there could be economic, political, and geopolitical ramifications going down this path.
Now, we did see Trump agree to pause the tariffs, the 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico for 30 days in relationship to their agreement to beef up defense of the U.S. northern and southern borders. Could we see more of those kinds of concessions from other countries after Trump imposes these steel tariffs as well as the other tariffs?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one thing we know about Donald Trump is he loves the deal-making exercise. So I think we are going to see lengthy trade negotiations take place. Obviously, with Canada and Mexico, that's already begun. We saw that with Colombia, with the illegal immigrants that were trying to be sent back to Colombia. And I think we're going to see that certainly with the EU and some of our other major trading partners. There's going to be a lot of discussions, a lot of negotiations on rewriting the rules of trade. That could have a positive impact. Listen, there's a lot of these countries do engage in protectionist behaviors. We see Canada very protective of its lumber industry, its dairy industry. We should have access, better access than we currently do to those marketplaces in Canada. And the same is true with certainly with the EU and agricultural products. So there could be some positive gains here with negotiations. But at the end of the day, we need to be very clear in what we're searching for here, what kind of concessions we're looking for. And then we need to bury the hatchet and get back to encouraging businesses to invest in this country and opening up those international markets with some certainty for the business community.
Well, certainly a lot to watch out for as Donald Trump takes America down this path of increased tariffs. Brandon Arnold, thank you so much.
Thank you.